Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There are some serious misinterpretations or misunderstandings of our interaction with nature. There's a very pervasive idea across society that there's a trade-off between nature and people. That you know, if we have an EU restoration law, that we must march against it to protect our farmland. When in fact, we need to be building that narrative in the correct way, which is that farmers need the EU restoration law more than any of us. Our agricultural sector is the most impacted by the loss of nature. The productivity and fertility of our soils is the most vulnerable when we see massive scale degradation of nature. So we need to be turning the narrative around to recognize that there are synergies. Of course, you know, it's not a linear relationship. If you've got full nature, if you're in a forested country and an entire intact forest, of course you need to clear some forest for agriculture. But once you pass 50 to 60% of that nature loss, every single hectare you lose, you are depleting the agricultural productivity in the areas that you've already developed. You're losing agricultural gains. So that needs to be behind the sort of motivating decisions that governments and companies can be using. But the other misconception is that degradation is driven by complex dynamics and you know, misuse of land and misappropriation of land and people's right, of land really. And in reality, the biggest driver of degradation is simply inequality. We put hundreds of predictors to try and assess what is the biggest driver of degradation. Overwhelmingly, it's the inequitable distribution of wealth. Regions that we have a massive challenge in overcoming this, because we've got a few people with massive environmental footprints and then billions of people forced to live day-to-day cycles in which they have no non-extractive opportunities. And these are the billions of people who, if given enough opportunity, if we can have more democratic access to wealth on our planet, an equitable distribution of wealth on our planet, these are the people who can find sustainable options that can turn those extractive solutions into the regenerative ones and the sustainable ones. And there's no location on the planet where a degraded ecosystem is more valuable to those people than a thriving one. So the really exciting thing, as you also mentioned, is this is now available to all of us at our fingertips. Just yesterday was the launch of Restore Enterprise, which is essentially the ability to